They are regular people, you know, they're human beings. I thought this stuff was hilarious. JD Vance has a wife, he has 3 kids. I don't think his sexuality is necessarily up for grabs. If I'm working a job where I need to make sure I have 5 to 20 hours on the back end of my paycheck, I'm probably not in the greatest spot. This is a bad situation for me to be in, and I should try to find something where I can make more money. I was banking on overtime being on my paycheck, so my paycheck looked nice. He says if you're a voter in Texas and you voted for Donald Trump, this is what you get, what you paid for.
When you say Harris, nobody knows who the hell you're talking about. No, nobody has any idea. Harris. Hey, where's Harris? They know Kamala. They know Kambabla. That was the nickname I used for a while, but I don't use it anymore because everyone thought I was just mispronouncing her name. I wasn't. Kambabla.
Keith Edwards is a YouTube content creator who usually covers the left side pretty well. I will say he does it gracefully and respectfully. Check out his content if you get a chance. This past holiday season, Thanksgiving, President-elect Donald Trump and Vice President-elect JD Vance posted something that sent the media into a frenzy. Welcome to Cozy Corner TV. I am your host, Karen Smith, call me Q, and we're on the corner, ladies and gentlemen. So let's take a look at what Keith Edwards covered that sent not so much the media, but let's say the internet into a frenzy. I'm pretty sure mainstream media will not cover any of this. So let's check this out.
JD Vance just posted an insane Thanksgiving post that honestly shocked even me. That has the internet asking a lot of questions. I'm going to show you that post in just a bit, but Donald Trump had a Thanksgiving surprise for his followers in Texas. Let me show you this. Look at this.
Okay, so let's go back here really quick. Okay, so he says that Donald Trump had a surprise for his friends in Texas. So it looks like this was a post that probably was made on X, I'm guessing. And it says, a Trump judge blocked overtime pay for 4 million workers in Texas. Yikes. So apparently a judge that Trump put in place has blocked overtime pay for 4 million workers in Texas.
Let's look at this reaction. Why do you think this GIF is being played? I'm going to tell you right now. Happy Thanksgiving to Donald Trump's voters in Texas, because a judge just blocked overtime pay for 4 million workers in Texas. And if you are a voter in Texas and you voted for Donald Trump, congratulations. You get what you pay for. If you're a Democratic voter, I'm very sorry. This is awful. So if Trump...
Man, Keith, that's a low blow. He says if you're a voter in Texas and you voted for Donald Trump, this is what you get, what you paid for. If you're a Democratic voter, he's sorry. Honestly, whichever side you voted for, I mean, this really does suck. I know some people that probably won't feel this at all, but I know probably the majority of the working class will.
Trump judge who blocked overtime pay for 4 million workers. Let's get into it. Here's an AP story on it. Judge blocks Biden administration's rule to extend overtime pay for millions. Under the federal law, nearly all hourly workers in the U.S. are entitled to overtime pay after 40 hours a week, but many salaried workers are exempt from the requirement unless they earn below a certain level.
Now, this is something that I was aware of, unless they're exempt from that requirement, unless they earn below a certain level. So he's going to go on to talk about what those levels are.
This law was going to raise that cap. The Labor Department's now scaled rule would have marked the biggest increase in the cap in decades. Employers were required to pay overtime to salaried workers who make less than $43,888 a year in certain executive, administration, and professional roles as of July 1st. And that was set to rise, what was that, 20%?
Yeah, about 20%. That was set to rise to $58,658 next year, which when I heard about that number, I was like, man, that's really high. Like for someone to be getting, you know, some overtime pay, at least historically, it's a pretty high number.
More, 30% more, to almost $60,000. But a judge struck it down, a Trump judge.
It says now the previous threshold of $35,568, which was set in 2019 under the Trump administration, is poised to go back into effect.
And now that previous threshold of $35,000, which was set under the Trump administration is going to go back in effect. And this is just more of the same of Trump voters getting what they voted for.
That means
But
crazy.
the only people, like we tried to warn them, the only people who are going to benefit in the Trump administration are the very wealthy and the very few. And the middle class, who wrongly believe Donald Trump is for them, is going to find that him and his judges are not interested in helping anyone else that doesn't belong to a certain small group. This system.
So here's what I will say where I can agree with Keith. The majority of the middle class will feel this, and if you don't make above a certain threshold, you're probably going to feel this a lot more. Let me just say this, especially if you are someone who you need or you make sure that you get overtime on your paycheck so you can make ends meet. Now, as someone who was on both ends of the spectrum, me and my wife were literally talking about this a couple of days ago. As someone who once worked a job where I was banking on overtime being on my paycheck, so my paycheck looked nice, and someone who now works a job where I never work overtime. I don't need work overtime to make ends meet. As a matter of fact, if I work overtime, I probably would be frustrated about it because I really don't work it right now. But as someone who's been on both ends of the spectrum, here's what I can say, because I'm not offering this as advice to necessarily console people and be like, oh, there's going to be new policy and what I'm about to say, you guys just have to deal with it. I'm just saying as someone that can see both ends. When I was at a job where I would be banking on overtime being on my paycheck, whether it was 5 hours each week, so let's say you get paid bi-weekly and you're trying to get 5 hours on each week on the back end of 5 hours of overtime on the back end of each of your paychecks, that would be 10 hours, right, of overtime that you would have on that bi-weekly paycheck. So as someone that would make sure I had 5 to 20 hours at the end of my pay period once upon a time, I could say that this would really make me feel like crap. Like this would really upset me. I'm not going to say that it doesn't upset me now because I know people that are going to suffer from this, but this would be really bad for me. And that would be because I would be banking on those 5 to 20 hours of overtime being on the back end of my 40 hours a week, meaning I wasn't working close to 40 hours. I probably were every 2 weeks was averaging more about maybe 65 at 80. So you guys get what I'm saying, right? So maybe 40 hours a week. So bi-weekly, that would be 80 hours, 10 hours on that back end of each one, right? So you're looking at 100 hours on your paycheck, right? I was one of those people. So I can tell you this, when I was working a job like that, I wasn't exactly in the mindset that this is a bad situation for me to be in and I should try to find something where I can make more money. As a matter of fact, I always thought that I was making enough money as long as I had that overtime. Looking in hindsight, right? Because vision's always 20/20, and hindsight, it's like, no, a lot of the times once I finally did leave that job, I realized I should have probably got out of there a lot sooner, because if I'm working a job where I need to make sure I have 5 to 20 hours on the back end of my paycheck, I'm probably not in the greatest spot, right?
Let's just say it honestly. This system is rigged against people like you and me. And I'm so devastated that people who voted for Trump, who are desperate, I understand their desperation. They want things to be different. And Democrats, we have to figure out our messaging, but the system is rigged against voters, and they don't realize that by voting into the worst impulses, they're giving oligarchs who have no interest in actually helping the middle class the opportunity to give them the middle finger. Real quick, if you're liking this video, you want to wish me a happy Thanksgiving, you can hit the like button, or you can...
And I can definitely see where he's saying that they're pretty much giving the middle finger, right? Because people who are making less than $58,568 a year, this is going to feel horrible. And people now who are making less than $43,000 a year, it's going to feel even worse. So by no means am I sitting here like, oh yeah, I'm glad this policy got passed, or I'm not. I don't think that it's the greatest type of policy to pass. But again, we have who we have in office at this point, and there's nothing that can be done about it at this point anyway. So I would say that I do agree with Keith here that this policy sucks. A lot of people aren't going to feel great about this. As a matter of fact, a lot of people are going to be hurting sometime soon. And he's going to also react to something else JD Vance posted, not necessarily relating to Donald Trump's post about the overtime being taken away, but kind of something related to the election. So let's take a look.
Subscribe. Okay, moving on. Happy Thanksgiving from JD Vance and Donald Trump. I have this post here. JD Vance posted this. Our next vice president posted this at 7 o'clock Eastern today. And then I have a bizarre Donald Trump tweet. This is bizarre after this. But look at this. First off, there's no caption. And I've never seen anything quite like this. And it is ironic that someone like JD Vance would basically say that he is Donald Trump's wife.
So this is where I was kind of dying. I love Keith for this, but I thought this picture is obviously funny. We have JD Vance and Donald Trump here, and JD Vance kind of has the electoral map on a plate, and it's being served to a family. You know, and the map's mostly red, like as we saw on election day. But the thing is that you can clearly see it's like an older lady and an old guy, probably a husband and a wife. And JD Vance has his head and Donald Trump's head on these two individuals, and he happens to put his head on the woman's body. Now, I was talking to my wife about this, and I said, you know, this is just I'm coming from a millennial mindset, so show me some grace here. Okay, Keith, show me some grace. But I don't think that JD Vance was trying to say he's Donald Trump's wife in this picture. I think what was probably going through his mind at the time was, you know, not just a former president, but the future president in January. I'm not going to take his head and put it on the body of a woman, because that probably doesn't look good for the leader of the United States to be on the head, to be on the body of a woman. So I'll just put Donald Trump's head on the guy's body, and I'll make myself the human sacrifice, and I'll put myself on the woman's body. I mean, JD Vance has a wife, he has 3 kids. I don't think his sexuality is necessarily up for grabs in this picture. I just kind of think that he thought about himself as a human sacrifice, and he said, you know what? I think this picture portrays exactly, you know, what I'm trying to say as a happy Thanksgiving to the American people. So, you know, I'm a sacrifice, and I'm gonna put my head on, the body of a woman. So I literally thought that this was hilarious. I thought Keith's take on it was hilarious. Like, again, I'm not saying anything about the LGBTQIA plus community. I have family, friends, don't care. But I just don't think that was the message JD Vance was putting forward here.
I've got some more reactions here. Frank Leonard said, this is really good. I've seen a lot of embarrassing behavior on this app, but I have never seen anything quite like this. And just realized this shows Trump and Vance as a married gay couple. Vance
oh my God.
is the feminine one. And again.
I just realized this shows Trump and Vance as a married gay couple, and Vance is the feminine one. So again, like I said, I thought this stuff was hilarious. I don't think that that's what JD was necessarily trying to put out there. But again, like I thought it was pretty funny. I know it ruffled feathers, and I know a lot of people were not gonna like it.
Nothing wrong with that. It's just surprising knowing what we know about JD Vance. Sam says, JD Vance is posting himself as a wife in a dress. Oh, he's going woke.
He's going woke.
Yeah, JD Vance went woke for Thanksgiving. Also, what is going on here? What is that hand? Yuck. Next time JD Vance fantasizes about being Donald Trump's wife, you should choose a frock a bit less frumpy. Donald goes for glitzy escorts and porn stars.
Yikes.
Not wholesome prairie grandmas. Good point.
Oh,
good
man.
Good note, Betty. And then the Young Democrats of America said, very simply, they're never beating the weird allegations. And I think that's true. This is just straight up weird. Look, listen, I'm all about having fun, but y'all are the vice president. You're going to be the vice president of the President of the United States. Be professional. For God's sakes. If this is how you want to represent yourself, posting stuff like this, it's so divisive.
And I can see where Keith's coming from with that, you know, because it really is a play on a lot of things. You know, what do we think about this? Like, we know what was said at the RNC. We know some of the things that the Republicans stand for. And then you have JD Vance posting this, you know, is he trying to be funny? And what is he trying to say about gay couples? But again, I really think it was much more about the electoral map than it was anything else. But you guys tell me. Keith mentioned something that I do think is important about a level of professionalism. So I think that's why we see a lot of the posts that we see. I don't think a lot of people were expecting the president-elect and the vice president-elect to post something like this on Thanksgiving, but they are regular people. You know, they're human beings, so they have their own side of themselves that you know, most people would say is comical in their friend circles. So they know how they joke. They know the things that they find are funny. But you guys tell me, what do you think about it? I think that they were just trying to show some Thanksgiving humor. Maybe, who knows, you know, trying to be graceful here. But let me know down in the comment section what you guys think about Donald Trump's post and JD Vance post. Thanks for stopping by on the corner and chilling with me, guys. Be peaceful. Love one another. Love yourselves. Peace.